And I guess the response was, I'm not doing certain things to satisfy him because of what I was doing or what I was not doing. So one or the other.
I just asked him that question off camera. Did he think that his wife, because he said that your side piece only really gave you like 15-20% of what you were missing?
Yeah, look at you, a producer. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
No, that's correct, right?
No, that's accurate.
Your wife was giving you 80%, but you were willing to risk that for 15 or 20?
I think that was very foolish of me to do such a thing. But at that time, I'm not thinking like, oh, my wife giving me 85% and she's giving me 15 or whatever. I wasn't thinking like that. So, if I had thought like that, I would have been like, hell no, I want that damn 15%. I'm gonna stick in this house and sit my ass down somewhere. But that wasn't the case. I think that I wasn't thinking.
But you know what? If you give 85%, you deserve to lose everything you got to that 15%. Because if you date me, I'm 100%, motherfucker. So you better give me 100% too.
I appreciate that.
And I'm not saying to you.
No.
I'm
saying I appreciate that.
I'm saying,
because that's
because I know that's gonna strike a nerve with some people. But let me say something, because I dated a 15%er, or no, he was a 50%er. And we talk about retaliation. I had way more resources than him, and this is way before TV and money and all that. I had money, but I didn't have money like I got money now. Now I would be a problem. But then I had the money, and this person cheated on me, lied on me, and stole from me in the same weekend. And those are my 3 rules. So retaliation, you talk about retaliation, I was the Floyd Mayweather retaliation. I went out, I intentionally did so much damage to that person that I wrote a chapter about it in my book, God Must Have Forgot About Me. The chapter is Toxic Ass. I don't know if I was talking about him or me, but what I realized was I had committed to making him feel the embarrassment I felt by him lying, cheating, and stealing from me. So what I realized was that person was giving me less than 100%, and the way I reacted, it was a reflection of how less I love myself. So now I realize if you don't give me 100%, which is why I'm single, because nobody in this generation with social media and with clout chasing and with all that understands really truly giving 100%. Because once you give me 99, that one problem you got is right here, and it's a wrap.
Hey guys, this is the Mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today. You guys just heard a clip from the Cheministry rejection panel where Martell, what's his name, Jason Lee, Tammy, I think her name is Tammy I think she's married to Waka Flocka, a woman named Rebecca, and the host were on the stage. I think Delicious was up there too. So there was a panel that was talking about infidelity and rejection as a result of infidelity. And Martell said a few problematic things during this conversation. But the clip you just heard was basically Martell's response to Delicious asking him, why were you willing to lose 85% for 15%? And Martell said he wasn't thinking. And then Jason Lee foolishly says, if you are willing to lose, if you're only giving 85%, you deserve to lose to that 15%. But that doesn't make sense, because guess what? You're willing to sacrifice something that is giving you more, or someone who's giving you more, for someone who's giving you less. So what's the logic behind that? That is not logic. And Rebecca was about to she was about to share her points about that being selfishness, about you constantly expecting perfection from people and it having these really high standards for individuals that are not realistic, right? 100%, in my opinion, is relative. So Aragon may think that she's giving Martell 100% of herself, but to Martell, Aragon's 100% is only 15% of what he wants, right? Jason Lee, has never had children. Jason Lee wasn't investing his time, energy, or effort, or resources into building his husband's family name. Melody wasn't just working on her career, right? She wasn't just working for herself. She was working to build the Holt family name. That's Martell's last name. That is not Melody's last name. So Melody wasn't just working on her career. She was building the Holt family brand. Holt Custom Homes and Holt & Holt. So basically what happened was Martell felt inadequate. He felt like he needed his ego stroked. And he said this earlier in the conversation. He needed his ego stroked, and Aragon stroked his ego, right? And then the host said that Melody took Martell for granted. She said that Martell was asking her and telling her what he needed. And then Melody would say, "You're going to support me." Melody would tell him what he was going to do. And she's only on season 2. There's 2 things that are the issue here. First of all, I think the host needed to watch the show completely before she had an opinion about it, okay? Because she's completely off. And that could be for 2 reasons. 1, she hasn't watched the show, or 2, she is low-key a pick-me. A lot of women who are jealous of other women who've been married, they have a difficult time empathizing with women who are being abused. That's not always the case, but I've noticed that a lot of women who wish they could be with a certain kind of man, they'll have less empathy for the woman who the man is complaining about for whatever reason, right? Now, I'm not saying that Melody is 100% perfect and she could do no wrong, but a lot of women, in my opinion, had an issue with Melody more than Martell because they wanted to be in her position. They wanted to be married to the handsome guy who was a good father or present father to his children. So they could not empathize with her because they wanted to be in her position. And they were more than likely saying, well, if it was me, if he was my man, I would suck his dick every day. You wouldn't have time to suck his dick every day if you're building 2 businesses on your back, popping out babies, 4 babies, okay, cooking and cleaning. You wouldn't have time to do that every day. Okay. And so a lot of women, they don't want to empathize with Melody. This is one of the reasons why I started my channel in the first place, because a lot of people in the comment sections and the, with their own clips, they would say these horrible things about Melody. And like, what show are y'all watching? What is going on here? But a lot of women have a difficult time empathizing with a woman who's being abused, especially if they want to be in her position. And I am kind of suspecting the host, I think her name is Chanel Scott, who's wearing the green, is in that category. She may change her position once she watches the, future episodes and she, does some more research about Martell. But by and large, I think she had a difficult time empathizing with Melody because I think she said she'd never been married before. And so Melody is pretty and thin, and then she's not worshiping her man or listening to him. Melody listened to Martell, but they had made an agreement, right? Before they got married, they had made an agreement to invest 10 years of the first 10 years of their marriage into building their financial success, building a legacy for their children. And initially Martell was on board until, Melody started to eclipse him when it came to her getting all these accolades for how she ran the business. If you guys remember in season 1, when Melody said, she and Martell was splitting up, and the office assistant was like, wow, so who's going to basically run this? She knew that Melody was running things in the office, and Martell was supposed to be on the field supervising the construction work, and he wasn't even doing that a lot of the time, because if you remember the first episode, Melody said, I'm constantly putting out fires. What are you doing? And this is before we even find out about the cheating. So Martell said that he was during this conversation, Martell kept lying and said that he was the primary breadwinner and that he was what does he say? He was the primary breadwinner and he was the dominant parent, right? He kept saying that. So I'm like, how are you the primary breadwinner if Melody said that they were both splitting the profits from their business 50-50 to the point where Martell stole her half, right? During the divorce. And how is he the primary breadwinner if she's the one doing most of the work for their businesses? Number 1. And number 2, being the dominant parent does not mean picking up the kids from school after you finish smashing Aragon at a motel, taking her home, and then you pick up the kids from school, right after that. That's what Martell probably thought was a dominant parent, because he wasn't cooking, he wasn't cleaning. He even admitted that Melody was cooking on, for Sunday breakfast for them before church, right? He admitted that Melody was cooking during their argument in the room when she was like, when was the last time you cooked? And Martell said, I shouldn't have to cook. I have a wife. So Martell wasn't cooking. He wasn't cleaning. He wasn't doing the girls' hair. How is he the dominant parent? How is he the primary breadwinner? He was lying again because the people on the panel were not familiar with the show. And he always does this. The same thing happened with the Steve Harvey interview. When Steve Harvey asked him certain questions, Martell deliberately misspoke and lied several times. Okay, to make the situation seem less worse than what it was, right? So back to Jason Lee. Yesterday I was in the live chat with Bondi Blue and Jamie and I think her name is Nisi. My memory is effed up right now, so I apologize because I'm not feeling good at all. They were having a panel discussion about what happened over the past few days with Aragon talking shit about Melody again and this panel. And, you know, the women on the panel, they were confused. They didn't know that Jason Lee said that you deserve to lose your man if you're only giving 85%, right? And then he said he gives 100%. First of all, 100% is subjective and relative to the position that you're in, right? So Jason Lee had, gastric bypass surgery, okay? And suppose he's given 100% to a man who doesn't see him as his preference, right? So Jason Lee has money, he's giving time, he's giving head, he's giving access, he's doing everything this guy wants him to do, but he's not the guy's preference for whatever reason. So your 100% will mean nothing if you're not the person's preference, right? The same thing with Martell and Aragon. Aragon is probably giving Martell, 85, 90, 100%, but Martell still sees her as a 15%er because he has someone like Melody. Melody's 85% would have probably been 120% to a man who had his own career, to a man who was a lawyer or a doctor or an actor or somebody who had their own aspirations and goals outside of their marriage, right? Martell said that one night Melody had the laptop in the bed with them and they hadn't had sex in a week and she was like, go get a girlfriend, right? Listen, when you're running a business, you are basically in the cognitive domain. You're in your headspace. It is difficult to toggle back and forth between the cognitive and the affective domain. The affective domain dealing with feelings and emotions and sexual passion. If you're working all day and you have all this pressure to perform because the business is basically on your back, you're doing most of the work. You have to deal with contracts. You have to deal with email communications. You have to deal with vendors and invoices and work orders. You're dealing with all of the back end paperwork. You don't have, it's hard to switch on and off between carrying this family business on my back because Martell isn't doing his work and then opening my legs to my husband every time he gets horny because he wants to treat me like a hump toy, okay? So every time Martell's dick got hard because his feelings were hurt, because he felt lonely and his ego was bruised, right? He wanted Melody to put their business to the side. Forget everything you're trying to build for me and my family name, right? And then use your body to make me feel better about myself, right? Melody is not Martell's Band-Aid and she probably got frustrated. And she probably felt like, the sex had no emotion. That's why she asked Martell to talk dirty to her. Don't just whip your penis out and say open wide. No, that's not how it works when it comes to women, especially a woman who's had 3 children, right? 2 within 12 months. Melody popped 3 children out of her baby, out of her body by the time Martell started cheating with Aragon, okay? And Bondi Blue said this yesterday to Jason. She was like, if you've never had kids before, please don't have an opinion about what 85% is or what 100% is or what a woman should be doing, okay? Having 3 children come out of your body, plus running 2 businesses, plus maintaining a household, plus cooking and cleaning and doing the kids' hair and doing all of the administrative work that your husband can't do because he doesn't have his builder's license and he's using you as a come up, right? He doesn't want to put in the work to build in his family name. So you're putting in the work to build the family name. That's what Melody was doing. That's Martell's family name. That's not Melody's. So for Jason to say, oh yeah, that 100%, that 85% ain't enough. That is immature and that is very ignorant because Jason Lee's 100% may not be a model's 100%, right? So if Jason Lee is tricking off with these young Puerto Rican dudes that he has a lust for, they're not going to see him as 100%. They're going to see him as a fat trick. Right? So all the money he has, all the clout he has, all the status he has means nothing to them if you're not their preference physically. That's how men usually operate, right? It's almost like the host wanted Melody to turn herself into a 15%er in order to appeal to Martell's ego. In order for Martell to feel satisfied in his marriage, he needed Melody to become 15% of who she really was. That is the problem that this host is not seeing. It's not the issue of, I didn't feel validated. I didn't feel seen. Why don't you feel validated? If I'm doing all this stuff for you, we have everything you said you wanted. Martell said that they had everything they wanted. He said that Melody fit into his plan perfectly, right? He had the family he wanted, the businesses he wanted, the esteem he wanted. Melody went to church with him. She was cooking. She was cleaning. She was a nurturing mother. She was supportive when it comes to business. She carried him on her back, right? Because he didn't have the confidence to do so. All this stuff he said he asked for, right? So now I'm 150%, but you want me to turn it to 15% of who I am so that you can feel validated. The problem with trying to validate insecure men is that you have to diminish your value in order to do that. And Melody said, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to shrink myself and dim my own light so you can feel better about yourself. Because guess what? I'm going to end up like Aragon, right? Broken, abused, used, feeling worthless to the point where now I have to throw jabs at somebody's ex-wife because I'm mad that the ex-wife wouldn't spend her money to take my love child on vacation with her family. But I'm going to talk about that in my next video because, Aragon said a few weeks ago that she felt played by Martell, but they kind of played each other. And I had recorded a message like on Monday or Tuesday that was very sympathetic to Aragon. And I was going to share it out. I was going to upload it until I saw the negative comments she made towards Melody, because I had thought that Aragon had turned over a new leaf, that she was somewhat remorseful. But alas, I shouldn't be surprised. Okay, so anyway, back to this 15% thing. Jason Lee doesn't understand again that you're 100%. If you're not the preference for the person that you're desiring, that you're dating, your 100% will be seen as 15, 20, 30%. And then if your partner meets someone who's their preference, they can just give in 15, 20%. And your man or woman may see that as 100% because that partner is a preference, right? So I talked about preferences before and about why Aragon was so angry with Melody. Aragon is very angry with Melody because she's not Martell's preference. And Melody represents everything that Aragon is not. So there's constant animosity between them. And I'm going to talk about that astrologically too, going forward, but not in this commentary. But what I will say is it is very, and Martell did admit that he was wrong for doing it. But then when Jason Lee said, you deserve to lose if you only give him 85%. And Martell was like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So which one is it? Either you were wrong, or you knew you were wrong, or you are saying you were wrong because you want sympathy. He flipped in like a second. Instead of saying, you know what, I thought the same thing, Jason, but somebody can't give 100% all the time, right? They have their own life. They have their own identity. They have their own responsibilities. They have their own inner demons to deal with. As long as a person is not abusing you, then you should be okay with them doing their best at the time, right? There's no verbal abuse. There's no emotional abuse. There's no alcoholic abuse. Melody was not abusing Martell. She wasn't even complaining about him. She was just putting her energy into her work, right? Because she didn't see, Melody did not treat Martell as if he was supposed to be her savior, right? Melody, if she has an issue, she tries to solve it within herself. She doesn't look to Martell to solve her problems for her. That is the difference between Martell and Melody. So if Martell wasn't doing things a certain way, she wouldn't blame him for it. She would say, okay, I understand. It is what it is. Let me channel my frustrations into my work, because the work is a productive outlet. And at the very least, if I'm frustrated, I'm still getting positive outcomes by channeling this negative energy into something that is being used to build the family business instead of sabotaging my entire life because my man can't be an emotional band-aid at the time, right? So Aragon was a source of comfort for Martell, and he mentioned this before. But as I said months and months ago, if you're comfortable with dysfunction, then how comfortable are you really, right? I think that Martell and Aragon have an off and on relationship because at some point, Aragon irritates the hell out of Martell because she reminds him of things about himself that he does not like. Melody is someone who inspired him. And Kevin Samuels always talked about men wanting women who are feminine, beautiful, and inspirational. Melody was all three of those things, right? Aragon was pretty, right? But her energy was not feminine. She has a masculine energy. Well, how does a woman who has masculine energy behave? She's insecure. She's petty. She's jealous. She's bitter. She's vindictive. That's all insecurity. She doesn't have faith in her empress value, the ability for her to attract and manifest just by being. She has to knock another woman down or antagonize another woman to feel better about herself. That is a masculine energy. And Martell's the same way. He can't just enjoy his success. He has to have someone submitting to him, right? He has to have someone that he's dominating or lording over in order to appreciate the blessings that he had. Okay? Melody was more than 85% in my opinion. She was about 90%. 15% with sex. I could see if Melody was not having any sex with Martell at all. But Martell got Melody pregnant 5 times. Okay? So she was having sex with him. All right? It's just that he was trying to use his penis to make himself feel better about Melody climbing up the ranks in their business. Okay? So he wanted to use Melody as some sort of a hump toy or blow-up doll to feel better about himself. That would make a woman feel like a prostitute or something. It's very empty when you're with a man that's using you just for sex. Like, there's no emotional connection. There's no talking. It's just, let me get my orgasm and then I'll let you do whatever you've been doing for the past a few hours. I'm not going to make your job easier. I'm not going to help you with the work. I just want you to satisfy me sexually. And then, I'll be satisfied and I'll be going to sleep while you're up till midnight answering emails and doing the work that I should be helping you to do so that you can feel more comfortable having sex with me more regularly. So instead of Martell saying, you know what, Melody, what are you doing? Let me help you out here. Let me lighten your load a little bit. Let me do that. But instead, Martell was using sex to cover up his insecurities about Melody and about himself. That is what it was. So Aragon is just a manifestation of Martell's insecurities. Why would he commit to someone who exemplifies everything that he sees wrong with himself? But he's comfortable with it, but it's not a comfortable comfort. It's like a familiarity, right? Familiarity does breed contempt, definitely. So he's familiar with Aragon's energy because they're very similar. They both want to be appreciated for how they look. They don't want to work for anything, right? They think that they should get credit for things that they haven't worked for, and so on. So they're of the same ilk. They both have animosity towards Melody for being something that they want to be, but they don't have the discipline to manifest, right? All this stuff. They both have a lot of similarities, which make them compatible. But do you want to be compatible with somebody who has a personality disorder? Because that is a very toxic relationship. So again, just to recap, it is very important that people have an idea of who they are. They value themselves and they don't look to their partner as a band-aid, an emotional or psychological band-aid. I need to have sex to feel better about myself. And if you don't give me sex, right, no matter what you do, everything else you're doing for me means nothing. It's worthless. I'm willing to throw a grenade on my family legacy that my wife is helping to build. She's building my family name. I'm willing to throw a grenade on all that because I'm insecure about myself. And I'm blaming my wife for my insecurity because she's not submitting to the whims of my penis. Melody needs to be with somebody who's an intellectual, who can have a conversation with her about certain things. She doesn't need to be with a dumb jock who thinks about his penis all the time. Right? And again, if Martell had been the primary breadwinner, he would have been able to empathize with Melody and say, wow, we have a lot of work to do. Let me help you do some of this work so you can get some rest, so you can relax, so you can decompress, right? Not just by yourself, right? Let's find ways that we can decompress together that doesn't have anything to do with sex. Because sometimes women don't want to have sex, especially if they're in a very heady space. If they're studying for something, if they're stressed out, that's not the first thing that comes into our mind. It actually stresses us out to think about sex because it takes a lot of energy from us too, to do that, and it's draining. I have all this stuff to do and my mind is constantly racing. I don't have the capacity to just focus on getting your meat wet right now. That's not interesting to me. What's interesting is trying to build our business. Instead of you saying, you know what, let me do this with you, because you're helping to build my family name and I love you and I'm supportive of you and we can use these conversations about the business to bond. Perhaps Melody would have been more receptive to Martell's advances. Martell also said that the very first night he went out, he told Aragon he wanted a girlfriend. From what I know, when a man tells a woman that he wants a girlfriend, it means that he wants to have sex immediately. Aragon lied and said she waited 8 months to have sex with Martell. Why would Martell wait 8 months to have sex with her if he couldn't even wait 1 week to have sex with Melody? He said Melody rejected him for 1 week. Ooh, 1 week. Oh my God. 7 days, right? So Martell has the patience of Job for somebody he doesn't even know, but he doesn't have patience for his wife who has 4 kids by him. 3 kids at the time by him, right? So she lied about that too. I'm going to get into that in the next commentary. But yeah, Martell kept lying on this panel. He lies to people who don't know the situation. That is why he had so many supporters in the first 2 seasons, because women saw him and said, oh, he's so handsome. Oh, he's good with the kids. But they didn't see what he was doing to Melody behind the closed doors. They didn't see how much muscle Melody was putting into their business. They didn't see how much she was carrying on her back, which is why she has such a, I don't want to say a snarky disposition, but she was very sharp and logical because she's in her cognitive domain. She's thinking about contracts. She's thinking about payroll. She's thinking about insurance. She's thinking about the administrative work, while Martell has the time to play hooky and get his meat wet with his 15%. And Ariane is okay with being 15% because Ariane likes to be abused. Ariane is she has this sadistic relationship with herself and other people. She thinks she deserved to be abused. It actually makes her excited, I think, to get abused by Martell, to be disrespected and disregarded by him, and then him come back to her. I think she likes that toxic cycle, and Melody doesn't like it. You know why she doesn't like it? Because she has better things to do with her life than to go back and forth around a toilet bowl with somebody who's so insecure that they're willing to destroy their own family legacy because their penis is dry and their wife is a boss. It's as simple as that. And Melody probably got frustrated. She was probably irritated, frustrated, and disgusted. Like, yo, it's almost like a smart girl dating a dumb jock. At some point, Melody was like, I can't even have a conversation with this guy about anything? Really? Here I am trying to focus, and here this dude comes with his dick hard, talking about satisfy me. But he's not considering what I'm going through right now. As a mother, as a wife, as a housekeeper, as a CEO of 2 businesses that bear his name. He didn't care about that. So Melody was probably like, okay, she probably started to connect the dots. Like, every time I'm trying to do my work, this man tries to interrupt me. A lot of men act like that. A lot of men see women like in their own space, doing their own thing, and then they deliberately do things to interrupt the woman. And I think Melody probably saw at some point, there's a pattern here. Every time I try to focus on my work, here Martell comes with his dick hard, with his dick out, trying to get attention because I'm paying attention to the work that we both said we're supposed to be doing, right? Melody didn't have the luxury to play hooky. She had to take care of 2 businesses and several children. Martell wasn't, I don't think he was helping her as much as he could have. I think he was supposed to be supervising the work sites. I think that's what was supposed to be happening. And Melody was supposed to be in the offices making sure that the construction went smoothly by handling the invoices, work orders, making sure they had supplies, insurance, all this other stuff. And Martell, again, he wasn't doing his job. So of course his dick is hard. He has plenty of time to fool around and not do his work. No sympathy for Melody whatsoever. Very selfish. And that is what Rebecca said towards the end of the clip. It's a very selfish thing to expect your partner to give you 100% every single time. And of course, Jason Lee is going to assume he's 100% because he has money. But guess what? If you're short and fat and you're dating men who are models, you're not going to be there 100% by and large. Not in gay culture. That's why there are so many men who trick off on gay young men. Because those gay young men are attractive and they're like, listen, I'm the prize here. You got to pay like you weigh. So Jason Lee assuming that he's 100% because he got money, that's false. Because like I said, and I'm going to close it out here, if Martell were a doctor or some sort of specialist or somebody who had to travel a lot for work or even a lawyer, there's some lawyers who work 16 hours a day on cases. If he had something else to occupy his time that he was passionate about, then Melody would have been 120% for him. But because he felt inadequate, right, within himself, he also diminished her value. So I can't see your 100% because I'm not 100% within myself, right? So even if you give me your best, I'm still not seeing you giving your best, even though you're giving me everything I want, because I want you to make me feel better about myself. And I need you to get on your knees, literally and figuratively, to make me feel better about myself. I need you to become 15% in order for me to feel 100%. And Melody said, hell fucking no. Why am I doing that? Because I need to be 100% in order to take care of our 4 children and to run our 2 businesses that bear your family name. I can't afford to be small for you to feel big. Because if I'm small, the whole thing will collapse beneath us. Martell keeps lying. This is why I don't like watching his interviews. Because he talks to people who don't know about the show. He always talks to people who don't know about the show. And I think that's a prerequisite for him. I really do. I really, really do. Because he keeps lying about being the primary breadwinner, which he was not. And he keeps lying about being a dominant parent, which he was not. Martell was completely lost when Melody divorced him. Lost. All right, guys, I will leave it there. I look forward to reading your comments. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will speak to you soon.